Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
In a game where Caitlin Clark was getting hacked non-stop and the refs just looked away, fans had one demand: do something. And Sophie Cunningham, she heard it loud and clear.
Going coast to coast. And we got another
Moment that's now gone viral. Sophie Cunningham didn't just send a message to J.C. Sheldon. She didn't just check the Connecticut Sun. She sent a message to the entire WNBA. Don't mess with Caitlin Clark.
Teams are going to have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
While fans were losing it over Caitlin Clark getting hacked with zero consequences from the refs, they finally got what they'd been begging for: an enforcer, a protector, someone who wasn't afraid to send a message. Out of the ashes of a dumpster fire of officiating, a star was born in one viral moment. Sophie Cunningham didn't just defend her teammate, she ignited a spark that could redefine the entire tone of the Fever's season. And yeah, it might seem early to say this, but Sophie just became a household name across the sports world.
They didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom.
Already seeing the impact. Within 48 hours of that game, Sophie Cunningham's name is everywhere. The clips are viral, the fans are fired up, and the tone completely different. Because this isn't just the Fever versus the league anymore, it's Caitlin versus the world. And Sophie, she just became her undisputed bodyguard. Here's the wild part: that one moment could make Sophie millions. No exaggeration, the signs are already here. Let's break it down. But first, like this video, drop a boxing glove in the comments if you respect Sophie for stepping up, and subscribe for more WNBA stories that matter.
Allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their team.
There's no denying it. The Fever's game against the Sun was a new low for the WNBA. Fans have been complaining about the officiating for years. Kelsey Plum literally broke down in tears recently, saying she prays for it to get better. But what happened in that game? That wasn't just bad refereeing, it felt like a message. It's open season on Caitlin Clark, and the refs, they're not lifting a finger.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabry, I missed that one, Edona.
JCS Sheldon went after the literal face of the league, and in the chaos that followed, Marina Mabry straight up body-checked Caitlin Clark to the floor. It felt like Dejounte Carrington and Kennedy Carter had cloned themselves and re-entered the game as a tag team. The replays, brutal, and the alternate angles made one thing crystal clear: it was even worse than it looked live.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
JC's swipe wasn't just careless, it was calculated. And Marina Mabry didn't just bump Caitlin Clark, she sent her flying. That kind of contact, it's flagrant. In the NBA, it would have been called instantly. But in the WNBA, apparently, it's just another Tuesday. And yeah, it was disappointing. Lexi Hull got in JC's face for a moment, but beyond that, there wasn't much fire from the Fever, especially from head coach Stephanie White. Now, to her credit, she absolutely redeemed herself during the post-game press conference. But in the heat of the moment, fans were begging for her to go full Bobby Knight and launch a chair across the court. And let's be honest, that would have been an iconic moment, given the Indiana connection. And before anyone starts with the tired Caitlin's soft narrative, just stop.
Made me think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected, just a common technical foul? That would never happen. It would never happen.
There's no way this would have happened to Steph Curry or LeBron James without immediate consequences. Even the commentators were stunned that Marina Mabrey wasn't ejected after that blatant body check. And here's the kicker. Caitlin Clark is more important to the WNBA right now than Steph or LeBron are to the NBA. That's not a hot take, it's just the truth. We all saw what happened when Caitlin missed 5 games. TV ratings dropped, national coverage cooled off, and ticket demand faded fast. Like it or not, she's the engine driving the WNBA's momentum in 2024.
Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra viewers.
These didn't just dip, they cratered. Fever games were down over 50%, and league-wide interest took a nosedive. By now, you'd expect the league to issue a clear directive: protect Caitlin Clark, give her the star calls, wrap her in bubble wrap if you have to, because this wasn't just a missed call, it was flat-out, outrageous treatment of the WNBA's most valuable superstar. A total black eye. For the league and the backlash, fans, analysts, even former players are slamming the refs for what's clearly become a pattern of neglect. At this point, it's no longer just about bad officiating. It's about something respect, or more accurately, the shocking lack of...
I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, that's the understatement.
When I say social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, I mean it's absolute chaos, and not in a good way. The outrage is everywhere. Sure, the Fever were up big, cruising to a win. Caitlin Clark had already dropped the highlight of the night, a deep 3, cold as ice, followed by some savage trash talk to the Suns bench. But still, something felt off. It didn't feel finished. It didn't feel settled. There was tension, a weird emptiness, like the game was ending, but the message still hadn't been sent. And then, Sophie stepped in.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
The game already. In hand, Sophie Cunningham sent a shockwave through the arena. She dropped J.C. Sheldon with a hard foul, then turned and walked away like a warrior. Calm, composed, like she'd been waiting for that moment all season. And if you know Sophie, you know this wasn't just a burst of emotion. It was calculated. It was précis, the kind of response that comes from Taekwondo discipline and years of battle-tested grit. For Fever fans, for WNBA fans, and for every Caitlin Clark supporter who's been yelling at their screens while refs looked the other. This moment was cathartic, because this wasn't just about J.C. Sheldon. This wasn't just one foul. It was payback for weeks of the missed calls, the elbows, the blindside hits that never got whistled, and finally, someone hit back. Sophie wasn't just standing up for her teammate. She stood up for everyone who's had enough, and her message rang out loud and clear. Not anymore.
I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this wasn't just a hard foul. This wasn't some random heat of a moment scuffle. This was a turning point. What happened in that game against the Sun didn't just expose a missed call. It exposed a crack in the foundation of the WNBA, a league that wants to grow, that says it wants to elevate. But when it comes to protecting its biggest star, silence, a full-on face wipe, a body check that sent Caitlin Clark crashing to the floor, and the refs, not a whistle, not a flagrant, no ejection, no accountability. If that happened in the NBA, to Steph, to Luka, to LeBron, we already know how it ends. Immediate whistles, technicals, suspensions, statements from the league. But in the W, it's just another Tuesday. And that's the problem, because this isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. This is about every player who's ever been dismissed. Every fan who's ever asked, why aren't the refs doing something? Every young girl watching who wonders if greatness means becoming a target. The league is at a crossroads. Protect your stars, enforce your rules, or risk everything you've worked to build.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected.
There are two massive outcomes from that game, and both are game changers. First, Caitlin Clark's fan base. Already the driving force behind record-breaking ticket sales, merchandise, and TV ratings. just shifted into a new gear. From frustrated to furious. These fans have been mocked, dismissed, labeled bandwagoners and casuals, been told they're not real basketball fans, called outsiders, even branded toxic by certain voices in the media. But here's the truth. They filled arenas, they shattered viewership records. They showed up long before the mainstream media caught on. And now, after watching Caitlin Clark take a blatant face swipe and get body checked like she was in an MMA cage with zero consequences, that's no longer just frustration, that's rage with purpose. That's a movement shifting into overdrive. This isn't just about missed calls anymore. It's about something deeper. Fans waking up to the possibility that the very league they've been helping elevate might not be protecting the reason they showed up in the first.
Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit, lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her. They're jealous, the players union. It looks like the whole
fans feel like the league is working against its biggest star. The emotional bond breaks, and we're watching it happen right now. Yes, they're still showing up for Caitlin Clark. They're still buying tickets. They're still watching. But now, they're quietly hoping the WNBA fails without her. Not out of hate, out of pure exhaustion. Exhaustion from watching cheap shots get ignored. Exhaustion from the media twisting the story and making her fans the villains. Exhaustion from coaches, players, and even officials acting like she's the problem. And exhaustion from league leadership staying completely silent. And that silence, it's louder than anything they could have said. Because here's the real threat. The moment fans start thinking, maybe this league doesn't even deserve Caitlin Clark that. When you lose them, not just for one season, maybe for good. Because now, it's not just about Caitlin anymore, it's about trust. And once fans lose trust in the league, no highlight, no star, no marketing campaign can fix that.
So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA, where she displayed tonight was disgusting.
Just a few months ago, these same voices were hyping up physicality. In the WNBA, they cheered on hard fouls, gritty defense, and the idea of letting them play. But now that Sophie Cunningham serves up that exact same energy, suddenly it's too much. Please, this is what happens when the narrative doesn't go the way certain parts of the media or fan base want it to. It stops being about basketball and starts being about control. And let's be real, if Sophie hadn't stepped up, fans would still be furious today. Because once again, Caitlin Clark would have taken hit after hit on national TV, no calls, no backup, and no one willing to say enough is enough. But Sophie did she?